And how did I know Oni was the one? It was a combination of things. Another part of that combination was that Oni was the first person to do a painting, a portrait, can I call it a portrait?
Yeah, sure.
Of my penis. Do you
Can we
remember?
talk about that painting?
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Conversations from the heart, from the start we set apart. Art a la carte, now check it.
All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Urban Artist Talk. I'm your host, Oni Jamora, aka Natty Rebel. And today we have another amazing guest. I'm so glad to have our guest here today. Not only is she a phenomenal artist, we'll talk about that in the episode, whether she's an artist, not an artist, but she's also a birth worker, a social justice, advocate for mothers, and also my partner, the wonderful, lovely Miss Oni Jamora.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we had to have you. This podcast, it wouldn't even be a full podcast unless I had your input because we talk all the time at home. We talk here at the BAM headquarters, but to have it documented on this podcast is a must. So
Yeah, it's really different.
Mic in your face.
We talk all the time, but not like this.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into it, but we're gonna keep it natural and act like the mics aren't even there. And I want to just jump into it and have this conversation documented about, and I really want you to speak to the people who don't consider themselves artists because you tell me all the time that you're not an artist, even though you create some of the most amazing art. So, are you an artist, not an artist? Give it to me.
Now that I've refound the stained glass art, I do consider myself an artist again.
Are you a painter?
No, I'm not a painter. I'm not a painter.
Oh, how are you not a painter? How are you not you just use paint? It's just a tool.
You use paint. I'm like, that's your thing. And now I have the glass, and that's
your thing.
my art.
So Oni has gotten into some amazing stained glass recently. An art that I just would not be able to even take on or have the patience.
We're gonna do a family class. I already talked to the teacher about it.
Glass is a whole different medium that I don't know if I'm ready to work with. Like we started here at the Bay Area Mural Program with mosaic tiling, but it's a whole different monster. Mosaic tiling, you can mash and then puzzle piece it back together. But break down a little simplified version of the process of stained glass.
I'm still a student, so I can't speak on it from a really experienced perspective. But pretty much you choose the glass that you want to use after you create your design. And those are my favorite parts of the process. I love creating the stencils, and I really love looking at all the different glasses and seeing what will fit well. Because the glass tells the story of the piece. And so whether it's more transparent or less transparent or more brightly colored, darker colored, helps tell the story of what the glass is trying to say. And my grandmother did stained glass art, so that's what inspired me to do it. And it's really sweet in the process.
Would you say that you have to have a background in color theory or some type of art practice before going into stained
Some
glass?
kind of art practice.
Yeah.
It could look really different, but you definitely need a background in something before starting. Yeah. Nobody in there, even in the beginners, is like, I haven't picked up a pencil in 20 years, or, I haven't created something in a long time. It's not like that.
Please. So for all those listening, this is one of Oni's paintings. How old is this painting? When did you create this? Like
Before I gave birth. So maybe 8 years.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
So if this isn't an artist, then I don't know what is. I think one of the it was funny, I was talking to Timothy B, and we were behind the scenes over at his studio. Shout out to Good Air Studios. We were there working on the mural for the Square building, and he, in the midst of conversation, he was like, how'd you know that Oni was the one for you? And I was like, oh man, there was a lot of different components that really solidified it for me, but I think when I went over to your mother's house, of course, after our trip to New York and after hanging out in the Bay, your mother, Eva, shout out to Eva, love her to death. Um, she, lives in Napa. We went up to your house in, where you used to live, and the paintings that you had in your old bedroom of just like the different styles, but also a lot of artwork that felt as if different subject matter than I would paint, but in a style similar to almost my own style.
You
And
never told me any of this.
that's why we got to get it on documentation. We got to get it right here. This is the Urban Artist Talk, so you get it, right here, right now. No, but it was one of the things that really made me love and appreciate you more, because I really feel like as an artist or even somebody who studies anatomy, nature, sacred geometry, dimensional space, like it's a practice and it's something that you can't just learn overnight. It's something you have to devote time to. So that's why I always give you a hard time when you say you're not an artist. I'm like, what? This is hours and hours and hours of studying and then translating onto canvas. Um, but I feel like, as a mother, as a creator, I also get it when you say, you're not an artist. It's just a part of creation. So let's get into some of your creation work and even starting with this painting right here.
Well, wait, I wanted to talk more about how we met because of your Organite.
Oh,
That's a really great part of the story.
I think I have some up here as well too. Matter of fact, did you get a pyramid or what was the? Do you even remember which Organite it was?
Yeah, it was a pyramid.
Oh, okay. All right. So you want to tell that story?
No, I'd rather hear.
Why? Okay. All right. So if I get it correctly, and you can, butt in at any time. Let's see. So prior to seeing Oni's artwork at her mom's house up in Napa, I was living in Richmond, and let's see, was BAM started yet? No, I think I was just muraling.
I helped start BAM.
Take credit where credit is due. Yes, you were a great motivation. I can't even deny that. You and the children was a strong motivation for creating BAM. But I think at the time when we met, I was just muraling, still doing trap art, doing just, local exhibitions, and making Organite. I just came back from Tanzania, Zanzibar, and had brought some Kyrie shells and some just different memorabilia, stones, coins from East Africa, and started building Organites. For those that don't know, Organites are, should I go grab one? Let me grab one. So it's a lot of different theories, but basically they started off as, ways to, creative means of harnessing and directing energy. So I was drawn to it initially because I was like, man, I want to create pyramids. I love the pyramids. How do I put a pyramid in my hand? And I came across Organites. And so ultimately it's organic and inorganic objects that you kind of layer inside of this clear casted resin. And you put a piece of copper, spiral it so that it can, cast the energy in the direction that you want. And, different type of crystals. This one has a quartz crystal and some selenite, some amethyst down here. So yeah, this is an Organite. Some people say, it's, for harnessing sexual energy, but.
Is that what you were using it for?
Is that how I got you? Oh my goodness, I put it out in the world. No, yes, if you do read up on it, that is one of the, means of it. But no, I was really just drawn to the, geomancing. For those that don't know what geomancing is creating objects and placing them in the world, along your travels. Of course, you had to travel there in order to place it there. And then being able to grid it and figure out how to create energy between these two spots or multiple spots that you have now, geomanced. So I think they accredit, Benjamin Franklin I think our ancestors were doing it a long time prior to it. But a good example is Benjamin Franklin and the museums. I think the very first museum was created in Paris, and the second one was created in Philadelphia, where I used to live at. And if you think about the amount of energy or the amount of people that travel back and forth between these museums, you create another museum in London, you create another museum in Prague, and now you're just creating a gridded caste system of energy, of currency, of money, of exchange. So I was kind of into just being able to create these and put these in places along my travels, East Africa, Europe, South America. And I was able to connect with Oni with my Organite. It was so funny because I was showing people on Instagram what an Organite was and that I was making them really into them. And this beautiful woman, this gorgeous woman, DM'd me and was like, I want one. I would like to buy one. And I was like, wow. As I was reading up on it, it was mostly Europeans that were into organized. I didn't find too many brothers or sisters that were into organized. So
Especially not at that time. Maybe now you can say
now,
so,
yes.
but back in the day, that was
Back in the day, it wasn't too many brothers or sisters that were into organized. So when I saw this message come in from this sister about this Organite, I was like, who is this and what does she know about Organite? She said she was passing through town, coming back, I think, from a festival. That was back in your festival days. That was back when, oh
It
my
was
good,
back in the days.
Reggae in the River, and what's the name? Sierra Nevada. What are some of the other festivals that we used to? All of them. All of them. But I think you were passing back from one of those and were like, can I stop by and pick up one? I was like, oh, she bold. She gonna meet, she don't even know who I am. And she gonna just come by and pick up an Organite. I think I was selling them for like $30 or something like that.
It wasn't expensive.
It wasn't expensive. And she came over and it was funny because I was in the kitchen at the time, cooking dinner for my son. I forget how old Jade was at the time.
He was oh, he's so big now. He was small back then. He had his little glasses.
I gotta paint him somewhere around with the glasses. But yeah, he wasn't even paying attention to the Organite. He was like, oh yeah, those are cool. And just into his games or whatever. But you came over and what was your take when, I want you to tell a story. I mean, like basically, I forget what, I remember you coming to pick up the Organite.
It was just brief. It was very brief.
It was very brief because I didn't want it to be about, any
You didn't
type
invite me in, so I was like, okay.
I invited her in,
and go.
but my son was there and I was just like, okay, beautiful woman. She likes Organites. I'm not going to make it about her beauty. I'm glad she likes the Organites. I could use $30. And I think that was our first interaction. And then it was New York after that?
It was New York after that. The story's real magical. I don't know if we need to spend the whole. We can talk about it on the pod, but it's a long magical story.
It was New York, then back to the Bay, then Florida somewhere in there, Jamaica, and then children. Oh my goodness! Wow.
And a lot of children.
So that's for anybody out there that is with for young lovers. Travel, get your travel in, because once the children come,
we gonna travel.
I know, but it's so much, and we get into like even yes, where we are with you and your artwork, not artwork. You've graduated from a lot of your birth work and artwork combined. Well, no, actually, you just did an event where you actually had to combine the two. Tell us a little bit about
I got
that.
to be the art curator for the AMCHP conference here in Oakland.
Don't be shy. Speak up. Let them know.
Well, that's it. So I got to curate the gallery and do a community engagement. We made little flower bouquets and had a community vision board.
Yes, and you got to display some of your artwork. And who else did you have? You had other artists involved.
Yeah, that's where I said I got to curate the gallery.
But name some of the artists. Who were?
Oh, Aliyah Sadiq, Linda Jones, Abba Yehuda, Camille Sophia. Thank you all so much.
An amazing lineup. So I'm glad that, I got to see some of their artwork. I've known Abba's work, but seeing Linda's photography was amazing. And even speaking about Linda Jones and just an amazing birth worker, I want to pivot to even the connection of your storytelling through your art connected to your birth work. Do you see it important to connect both of these worlds that you work in? Hold on, Eddie.
Um, they're so inextricably linked and connected. You can't even say incorporate one or the other. I
Mhm.
think my main focus and aim with both is to empower families to trust in their intuition, to trust in their baby's intuition. Um, Especially working in the community, I see so many mamas having so much fear entering birth and trying to dismantle that and break down the medical industrial complex.
It's a whole nother podcast. So do you use your artwork as so we've talked about this on other podcasts as well too, just how melanated people, people of color, how our artwork is a voice. Do you feel that your artwork is a voice? And what is that voice?
I'm contemplating because if nobody saw my artwork, it's so different with murals because it's an obvious billboard, it's a big voice. But if I made this and nobody saw it, how would I feel about it? It does give me a voice, but not that many people do see it. Unless you come into my bedroom, you're not going to see this painting. So it's a voice, but for who? For you?
So is your artwork more self-reflective?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's always a vision of what I want to see in the world.
So it's not really anything that you're trying to express out to the world. It's more or less what you're bringing from the world into your personal space. Yeah. So with that being said, do you feel that when a young woman who's about to give birth, sees this artwork or sees some of your artwork that might reflect some of the same subject matter, what do you hope that she takes away from this? Or some of your artwork that connects the subject matter of birth?
Mm. Peace, tranquility, pleasure. Empowerment. Simplicity, you know. Especially with birth, people make the process so complex and so extra and you got to do this, got to do that, but you literally don't have to do anything for a beautiful experience.
Yeah. I must say it is one of the most complex yet most natural, you know, God willing, everything is, where it's supposed to be and baby is healthy. Yeah, it is one of the most natural processes I've ever seen or been a part of, even to experience with you. Um,
Right.
just to put it out there, advocating for home birth. But yeah, even with that being said, how does, your advocation for home births and just being able to be in a space to where you're able to self-reflect and see your own artwork and, while you're going through this process, speak to that. What's going on, good people? Andre Jamora here, and as the executive director of the Bay Area Mural Program, I want to tell you about Chroma Paint. Chroma is our go-to brand, and we want to make sure it's your go-to brand too. Visit them at their website at chromaonline.com.
Can you say the question differently?
Yes. So, as a birth worker and an advocate for home births, um, how do you feel being in your own space with your own, beautification, your own? How important is it to have your place of birth be personalized?
Oh, it's everything. You see how diligent I am in the house, making everything look nice for nobody else but me. No company's coming over, nobody else in the house cares except me. I need to have, a beautiful space to function.
Yeah. No, that's amazing
Literally. And it goes to the garden too. I love the garden so much.
Well, the garden is
Um,
for, everybody sees the
the
garden, but
garden is for everybody.
it's interesting that, just how people use art in so many different ways,
Mm,
being able to use art as a mean to express and tell narratives for the public, being able to use art as a means to, self-reflect, study, learn, document just to be able to see where you were 8 years ago.
mm,
Um, you might be in the same place, you might be somewhere totally different.
mm.
Let's talk about any childhood memories. Is there any moment within your childhood that you can reflect on where you were like, if I'm not going to be an artist, I definitely have a big creative bone?
No, because my mom was an artist growing up. When I was young as a child, I always said I wanted to be an artist. I think I identified as an artist more as a child than I did or do now, for sure.
And so that is, within itself just a blessing to have a mother who's an artist, especially when you're creative. And it's, chicken or the egg. If you're creative, well, no, look at me. I'm an artist and I don't have too many artist children. Out of six, one.
They're very creative, though.
They are creatives, though.
Very
They are
creative.
creatives. I don't know if any of them would say that they're artists except Jahai. Yeah, he might be the only one.
Jahai's four, by the way.
And I feel like everybody starts off as an artist. That's, the funny thing is whenever somebody asks me, like, when did you start doing art? My response is always, well, when did you stop? Because we always start at the very basic level, at the very, elementary level of drawing before we can even really speak. And we've seen this with our children before
Mhm.
you can even like formulate before you can even write letters, you can draw. You love to see color and, just the endorphins and the, oxytocins that are emitted as you see children just playing with Play-Doh of different color or paint or, just color pencils. They're in it. They're submerged. And I think it's a beautiful place to just have even adults learn about themselves just watching children, create,
Mm,
because it should remind us that we started there and that we're also evolved creators.
mm,
And we shouldn't forget that. Yeah. So
mm.
childhood, mom was an artist. Any funny stories or any moments of, I know I've heard Eva tell stories. I would like to hear you tell a story um, that you can remember of your childhood artistry, that Eva might, well, go ahead.
The one that's coming to mind is just that I don't even want to say this. I'm like, I hope the children don't hear this,
Oh, it's
get
out
any
there. We
ideas.
on Urban Artist Talk.
I had carpet in my room. This was high school. And I would just paint on it. There was paint all over the carpet in my
Wait, hold on.
room.
You'd paint on the carpet or you'd paint canvases on the carpet?
You know you're Nazi rebel. I'm Mama Rebel. My mom said put down the drop cloth. I
Okay.
could have easily put down the drop cloth, but I didn't.
So what'd your carpet look like?
It looked like you could see the canvas outline. Canvas outlines with the paint around. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
How old were you?
It was high school.
Okay.
I knew better. I knew much better than to do that. And if one of the children did that,
You would be heated.
I mean, Lulu did get hair dye on the floor the other day, so that's kind of.
Oh, prom. It happens. But yeah, it's so funny, just perspective. How when you're a child, you just in it, you're trying to learn and figure it out, you just creating.
You just don't care.
I was gonna say, as you become an adolescent, you just don't care. But then when you hit adulthood and become a parent and start to see it,
When you got to start paying bills, everything changes.
oh, it's a whole different ball game. And when you see, you're like, the audacity. I remember who was it? I think it was Jabu and Jazzy. It's back in Philadelphia. They're painting on the no, they're just drawing on the wall. My mom is in town and they're drawing on the wall. And I come down the steps and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And my mom's like, don't you dare get on those boys. You paint on walls all day long, all over the world, and you gonna get on them for drawing on the wall? And I'm like, Mom, you know you would never. She was like, but you different. She's like, you didn't see me drawing on walls. They see you drawing on walls. I was like, all right, facts. All right, you got a point.
Yeah, she does. That's a great point.
So you got away with it. No more drawing on the walls, guys. So yeah, what else was it that we were talking about that was so? What was it? What was it that you wanted to talk about?
Sex.
Sex. Well, that is always a.
It's very artistic.
Yes, sexual energy and creative energy go hand in hand. I think that's why we have such a great relationship. Speak to it.
I know. I said I wanted to talk about it. I
Look,
need
and
you
then
to
don't get
prompt
all
some
bashful
kind of
now.
question or something.
So, yes, we have had a very creative relationship. We were featured on a book. Would you like to speak on Tatame's? What was the name of the book? Is it still
Oh,
out?
it was The Sacred Sexuality. What was it called?
Something of that nature.
Oh my gosh, what was it called?
Is it still out? Is it
But
on
it's
Amazon?
it's by Tatame, and it was a workbook, so it has prompts and questions to journal
Oh,
and
we need
answer
the
about. But we
prompts.
were featured on the cover.
So, was it a painting that you did?
Yeah.
Talk to us. What is it? All right. The name of the book, and then how did she get the cover
I
art?
feel uncomfortable because there's men here. I'm
That's
in
just
literally.
Marcus and Tone.
I'm in women only spaces all day long.
Well, let's talk about that. So now that you're around men, we got men producers and we got podmasters in the building. They're documenting this. So shout out to Marcus and Tone. So yes, what is it that you do all day? Let's start there.
What
Why are
is
you
that?
in women's spaces all day?
Oh, I work for Fierce Advocates.
What is Fierce
Coco
Advocates?
Doulas. It's a local nonprofit.
Local to who?
Richmond, the Bay Area. Richmond in the Bay Area.
So what do they do and who do they serve?
We have health and wellness programs, life coaching, policy and advocacy coordinating within the schools, and we have a Coco Doulas program.
Can anybody join Coco Doulas?
No, only Black women in Contra Costa County.
Wow. Okay, that's very specific. Why is that?
Yes. Because Black women and children are dying at much higher rates than anybody else.
So they need these services.
Everybody needs these services. Like I said before, people need to be birthing outside of the hospital.
Yes.
That part. Because when you are empowered and in your own home doing this ritual, you don't need a doula. Doulas are just a little band-aid on the issue of us dying, right? So just need to avoid the hospital.
So is it all women that you work with? You say you're in women's spaces all day. Is it only women that you work with?
Fierce Advocates is all women run.
No men doulas?
No men doulas.
So is a man doula even a thing?
But you know what?
I know
We
the
do
answers to
have-
most of these questions, but it's just so interesting at home hearing her come home and just like debate these topics, and how deep she wants to go down the rabbit hole on camera is up to her. But
I'm fine with going deep. But we do have a fatherhood program
okay,
for
nice.
fathers of the mothers.
So how do you
That's
talk?
as close as you can get to a man.
Do you
doula.
talk in those type of spaces? Like,
We want to do more collaborations. We want to have more dads and doulas, catchy title, collaborations, and more family-centered discussions.
is this the one you were talking about the other day with whether or not you should have like, how do you get men to the program?
Yes, this is the one. Yes.
She was asking like, how do you get? I think she was talking to one of her girlfriends. She was like, how do we get more?
Lauren was asking. Shout out to Lauren,
Yes.
the founder of Coco Doulas. One of the
And
founders.
what was your, because if I say it, it's just going to sound crude, but what was your solution to getting men to come to one of these
I
meetups?
said we need titties. I said titties will get men to come to the event.
Producers nod. They said yes. Full agreement.
And another suggestion was food.
Food and titties will definitely get more men than usual to your event, for sure. So now that we've warmed it up with,
Our funders will not approve.
well, it's just about how you integrate the titties. I feel like some of the great, who were we talking to that came up with the titty cupcakes and the, like, so it doesn't. Zoe.
It was Zoe.
Shout out to Zoe Boston. We were painting a mural yesterday and talking about, yes, you don't have to actually have a woman there with her titties out, which no man will argue or disapprove, but integrate titty cupcakes. Zoe had a great idea with that. Would you eat a titty cupcake?
And I said the lines get blurred because we fully support breastfeeding. You know, that's titties all out, but we want to desexualize breastfeeding. So,
I mean, I think, what was it, 10 years ago, people were still fighting with, whether or not women should breastfeed in public. I'm all for it. I don't know what person thinks that is just like so heinous, but I'm glad we've moved past that now to where, yes, if they have a private space, great, but if not, if mom can't get to the private space, baby needs to eat. But now back to men and titties. Yes, we love them, but I want to get to the book. I want to get to like your artwork and your involvement in just creating the book, and where did that energy come from? How did that image get chose for the book? Speak to that. As I hold on to my orgonite.
The start of it all. Oh, what to say? I'm trying to figure out, what do I really, really want to say about intimacy?
Well, I want to know about the book.
Book?
Yes, I want to know about the book. See, this is, all right, we have this conversation at home all the time too. It's just, men and women conversation, men, we're very direct, sharp angles, 90 degrees, problem solved. Women are like, oh, well,
we could talk about the book, but I didn't write it. It's
but you
better
did
for
the artwork for it.
Yes, I did.
And your girlfriend wrote it.
Yeah.
So you can mention all of that.
Yes.
And the energy, I really want to get to what was the energy that was put into the artwork that was chosen for the book.
Well, I'm thinking about it brings me back to the early days. We would just stay up so late just doing art and lovemaking, just intertwined.
Hand in hand.
All night.
Painting
and
rugs
that was
and
the
everything.
Energy in the
no,
in
we
that
didn't paint.
piece.
Did we paint any rugs? I don't know.
Was that what?
Did we paint any rugs together? Probably. I'm sure we got paint places that did not belong.
Oh, you said rugs. It took me a second. I was like, paint what? Probably did.
So, do I need to tell the story?
Maybe you do. Is there a story out for you? Know how my memory is.
I know. So, pretty much.
There's a story.
The name of the book is called
Sacred Sexuality.
Sacred Sexuality by Tatame Can? Is it still out? Is it still?
I think.
Should be.
I should have checked before.
Should have checked before. But shout out, because it was out at one time. I don't know if it's still out for picking up. But she wrote the book. It had great prompts for, I'm be 100% honest, I never read the book. But Oni did the cover art for it. Tatame had reached out to Oni because Oni, back in our earlies, it's all coming back to me now. Oni was I'll tell that story afterwards. So this cover art for the book was a picture that me and Oni had taken.
Should we do a reenactment right now?
Let's do a reenactment right now, here on the couch. Are you an artist struggling to sell your artwork? I know the feeling. I've been there, so much so that I decided to publish a book, The Art of Articulation. This book will help you not only navigate the art world, but give you the vocabulary to step into a room with confidence so you can sell your artwork. Pick up this book on Amazon today. You guys ready? No, you're not ready. It was a photo. We'll find it and throw it into the clip. A selfie. No, we put the timer on of us laying in bed right after lovemaking, and you took that photo and did a painting of it in, I want to say, a monochromatic red, orange, yellow, warm color scheme. And I was laying behind you so you could see mostly you, kind of like, laying in front, and then just, me laying behind you, just kind of like just a little bit of my eye because nobody really wants. But most of the image was of Oni and her figure and me kind of like holding behind her. So this was the image that was chosen. And yeah, do you have anything you want to add to it? Was that?
No, I just haven't even thought about the painting in so long. You're
Do you
really
still have
bringing
it?
back a lot of memories. So maybe it's in the laundry room.
It might be. But that spawned another thought. And this goes back to the conversation I had with Timothy B. And how did I know Oni was the one? It was a combination of things. Another part of that combination was that Oni was the first person to do a painting, a portrait. Can I call it a portrait?
Yeah, sure.
Of my penis. Do you
Can
remember?
we talk about that painting?
Let's
that
talk
one
about
I remember. That one I hope I still have.
The veins and everything. I mean, so well illustrated. Tell them about it, because it was a shock to me even when I saw it. I had never seen my penis from that angle.
Are you gonna put a picture of it on the page?
If we can find it. I don't even remember,
I have to have a photo of it.
All right,
least.
we'll look for it.
It was a painting collage, right? Because I made your hair look like a jungle. It was like a forest collage.
Was it a painting or was it a digital? No, it was a painting.
Both. It was before I knew about iPad, digital, anything. I think I printed out the images and glued them on there, old school.
But you painted the shaft.
But then I painted, yeah.
Okay, there's parts of it was collaging. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there were elements of collaging, but I remember the shaft and the head was paint. Depending on how you held the canvas.
And then I gave it to you as a gift.
And you gave it to me as a gift, and I was like, wow, this is a gift like none other. Marcus, have you guys ever got a gift? Have you ever been gifted an image of your own creation?
Father's Day is coming up. It's a great gift idea.
When you do, if you do, ladies, you hear that? Father's Day is coming up.
Even some nice photography print would be great.
You want a man to stay in your life? Draw his penis. All right. See, now I'm putting the game out there. Now too many women gonna show up this Father's Day. Look, baby, I got a picture of a penis on you. Be like, that ain't my penis. Well, I just took one off Google. See, you got to do it right, ladies. Don't just pull up with just some random photo. It's got to be his. Whether you take the photo of it with him knowing or not, it's got to be his. That's all I'm going to say. Because I don't want, we're living in sensitive times right now. And I don't want to say too much, but just make sure it's his. Full consent on everyone's part is this is the
right,
era
because we did do a photography session. You knew I was taking these photos.
Yes.
You didn't know what for.
Didn't know what it was for, but once you have consent, swing from the chandeliers. You hear me? All right, good.
And the funny part is it goes back to how just connected these things are, because I kind of just saw it as an anatomy study. I wasn't super horny or, sex obsessed or penis
No, you already
obsessed.
had me. Or as you already had the dick. So it's not like you had to do anything extra, but it was.
I've never seen a penis paint. That was part of it too. I love doing things I've never seen or heard of before. Depending. But I had never seen a penis painting. And I'm remembering, you know what inspired that? I had seen so much beautiful yoni artwork and birth artwork. But then I was like, what about penises? We don't have beautiful penis paintings.
Because the penis isn't as beautiful as the vagina.
It's a lot more in your face. It's less like fluffy floral.
Yeah, exactly. The vagina is like a nice little flowers, like a clam, kyrie shell,
rose petals.
Yeah. So
Penis
that's
is like a building, a
it's
tall
exactly.
building.
It's a very erupt, in your face, like you said.
Was it you who was saying Dubai is so phallic because it has so much like, look at me,
It is,
flashy?
and that is a part of, like I was saying earlier, full circle, geomancing, which is a very male practice of like staking your claim and making sure that your, energy and your money is, going from this place and this place without it being, misdirected. So yes, direction, as you see, even with, the shape of the pyramid, crystals and the way that this one has been placed inside of the organite. Yes, it becomes very phallic. So, do we need paintings of penises? I don't think so. We have
I
all
think
these.
so. If this inspires more people to make penis art, please.
And also from a different lens, right?
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
more, feminine, because even the color scheme, the way that it was done, it was just like, I forget even the colors, but it was just like so soft. And I think you put like some flowers around it or a jungle or something, with the
It was,
collage.
yeah.
So yes, when it is, a study, as you put it, study on, ladies. Study on. um, where do we go from that? Are we more sex talk, or are you good with the sex
I'm
talk?
getting more comfortable.
Oh man, we're just getting warm. Stay tuned. We're just all right. Titties. We got into the yoni. We got into the phallic symbol of the penis. Where do we go from there? And your Sag moon. What is the Sag moon saying to you right now?
What's the saddest thing I'm saying? Lately, my body's been saying I need sleep. That's not sexy.
She's going through,
A growth spurt.
I was gonna say a parent spurt. What'd you say the other day? You like, you're getting old because going to the dentist is becoming your vacations now. It's becoming fun.
Yeah. The vacations are intertwined with dentistry, and I feel excited about it. That part makes me feel old.
Yes. So sleeping more, definitely, but important to get your rest between, creating artwork and making stained glass and having a lot of sex. You have to get your rest. Key.
You know what I think would be applicable to people? It's really important to our sex life change because you're the first long-term relationship I've really been in, right? So once we started really communicating about sex and having conversations like this about sex with each other, that's when it was like, whoa.
The sex got better.
Like it was already, can't even say better, but more
connected.
I wouldn't even say more connected necessarily, but deeper, it's all saying the same thing. Enhanced.
It was enhanced.
But it was like already,
It was already a natural connection, and a lot of people out there might already go through this to where like you're drawn to somebody, whether it's, their looks or their behavior, mannerisms, that chemistry is natural. Everything after that you have to work on, whether you're, finding what they're interested in, interesting, whether
or
you're
not even, I wouldn't even say work on, but you just have to nurture it.
You have
and
to
care
nurture
for it.
Yeah. So I feel like,
some people do have to work on it.
Yeah. 6, 7,
Longer because
8. Oh, that
Jahai's almost 5. And then 6. Yeah. No, you're right. Only 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Have you guys had the fluctuation of like, okay, it was hot in the beginning, and you go and you're like, oh, we gotta like keep this alive. You talk about the work that it takes to keep that sexual energy.
Yes.
That's a great thing to talk about.
Well, I think, what I've learned in my, relationships is that sex is, men can have sex at any time. We can be broke, we can be dirty, we can be, like just living. We can be living with our mama. It like none of this, for a man, that doesn't block our desire and our drive.
No.
for women, if things aren't right, if the mood isn't right, if the
You
bills
gotta
aren't
set the mood.
paid, if the children are too loud for those that don't have children, if the mood isn't just
If you don't feel
on,
safe and
if a
secure.
woman doesn't, here, you tell them what it is,
No, I
because
just
I'm
want to answer what
guessing.
you're saying.
But yes, if a woman doesn't feel safe and secure, she's not gonna want to open up to you. You know, so I feel like in knowing that, I always wanted to make sure that everything around our relationship was in place, because I knew sex wasn't going to be happening, or we weren't going to be able to like go deeper if things were in place. So moving back, that's why I had to create BAMP, because I was like, okay, I can't just be an artist. People aren't respecting me as an artist. I'm about to be 40. I need to become an art director. No, an executive director. Okay, we got to create a whole. So it was creating that level of security to be able to place, our family in and be able to add everything else on top of it. So I feel like security is key, but to answer your question, or to even go back to like the highs and the lows, I feel like that's natural. You can't appreciate, the good without having some bad. The issue I feel like with our generation, or, with recent generations, is like we have over influx of, social media, so we can see the prettiest bodies. We can distract from our problems a lot easier than our grandparents, who just sat on the porch, might not have had TV, or, like just had to look at each other every day. Um, with that being said, I feel that me and Oni started off hot. We had moments, as I feel like all couples do when children come into play. Um, or even before children, you have moments where, communication, you're not always going to agree on everything.
We've broken up before.
You want to tell the story? Oni loves to tell this story.
No, let's not. Dre broke up with me, you guys. Can you believe it?
Listen, Dre had 4 children, was traveling back and forth to East Africa trying to take care of his children in Zanzibar, and trying to pursue an art career to pay for all the stuff that was going on with his children, because I wasn't going to work at Home Depot. So I was trying to figure out my life, and as beautiful as Oni was, and as much as she was into organites, my plate was full at the time. So I was like, you know what, let me entertain. No, 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 no. I got to take a trip to go see these children in Zanzibar in like 2 months. You know what, we went to a concert or 2 or 3 or 4. But this, this just isn't going to work. So I remember even calling the children in front of Oni, and this is what I recommend for all fathers who are back in the dating world, single mothers, single fathers. If your new partner can't appreciate the fact that you're a parent and the relationship that you have with your children, that ain't the person for you. It might be fun for a minute, but that's not the person for you. I would call the children in East Africa while I was with Oni, just to see, knee-jerk reaction. Because
Really?
some people are just kind of like, oh my God, he's talking to his children. Bye. And it's almost like, the soft way of trying to see who's going to jump ship. Or to see, like, I don't even know if we were that serious at the time, but it was like, well, I got to call my kids. And I remember back in my younger days when I, was less honest, I was like, you know what, let me sneak around the corner and call my children, and not in front of my current girlfriend, because I don't really want her to know. But I was like, you know what, let me be transparent, because if she can't appreciate that, then it's really not going to work. And, testament to Oni, she was unfazed, like not unfazed, but she appreciated the fact that I had children. She saw the relationship I had with my boys, with my daughter, seeing that, they were in Africa, that I talked to them on a regular. And I don't know if that was more, less. I don't know if that was a deciding factor, but if you want to speak to it,
Yeah, it was definitely a deciding factor because that gave me the confidence to know that you are a good father and a good man.
So depending on what people are looking for, just be transparent and honest because the right person out there, some people are just looking for a good time. Some people are looking for longevity. Some people are looking to, reconnect after so there's all these different formulas. And I feel like me and Oni just happened to have that chemistry that worked. The art definitely helped. The sex definitely helped. But then when things did get a little, you know,
Can I speak on the rockiness from a mom's
speak
point
on
of
it.
view? Because, mama, we
Talk to him.
get super touched out, especially early postpartum, breastfeeding all the time. It really puts a barrier on sex and wanting to be open to it,
Yeah. And I
not
see
sleeping
that.
through the night, all of that.
Hmm.
And I definitely felt understanding from you, but it was still, not a fun fun
It's
part of our sexual history.
it's I feel like it's tough for all parties, and that's where I think the statistics show that most marriages, you know, end up in a divorce within that first year or two of the child being born,
Hmm.
just because so much is up in the air. The man used to feel dominion over the female's body that he was in a relationship with. Now, if you have a child, that child has dominion over the mom's body. When they want to breastfeed, when they want to cuddle, when they want to, it. So totally understand when a child's been on breast all day, mommy doesn't want her breast touched, licked. Stay away from me.
Don't even look at me.
Don't even look at them. Let me put an extra shirt on, my turtleneck. So totally understand. The younger me was like, "Oh, come on, why?" But
Yeah,
they're
we would have
there.
definitely broken up if you were my age.
I think
We
that is
would have
also a
definitely
big
not be
factor as
together.
well too. We have what, 17 years between us?
17 years.
So there's a big age gap, which sometimes is prevalent, other times is not. I think that was one of the deciding factors when, like I was like, no, this isn't gonna work out. Too much of an age gap.
Oh, deciding factors when you broke up with me.
It was one of, even though, like Oni had a super high level of maturity that I've never seen in any other woman that I've dealt with, just when it came to childbearing, when it came to even before having children. I recommend like any woman that is going to have children, you know, any woman, any parent, any people that are thinking about having children, take some parenting classes before having children. Too many times in our community, we want to take parenting classes after we've found out, that
Once
mom
the
is about to be
problems
pregnant.
arise. Yeah.
And it's the inevitable. If you are sexually active, there is a chance that you are going to have children. Nobody wants to hear it, but I feel like it is something that you need to just be aware of and conscious. Don't be, flung into parenthood and be like, oh my gosh, there's already so many things to try and figure out. Just get a little heads up on the game.
Yeah, I think childbirth education classes should be taught with sex ed classes.
Most definitely.
Everyone needs to know this.
And if it deters you from sex, so be it. But this is the this is the ultimate result of
My classes will inspire you
Yeah.
to have sex and make more children.
And I think that was one of the other parts of the combination. I've always been a big fan of sex, but I've also been a big fan of procreating. No, I mean, to me, it always went hand in hand. I got homies that are just like, hey, no children, but I just want to fuck.
So you're saying you like the creational aspect to it?
I've always, anytime I've had sex with a woman, I'm like, what are our children going to look like? It's just in my DNA where some people are like, I ain't even thinking about that because it is not happening, even if we got to go to the morning after pill.
I
Like,
haven't thought about that with everybody. With most, no. With most
I'm just
sexual
telling-
partners, I have not thought about
Especially if I accidentally, you come inside and it's like, let me see. It's a part of the game. It's, you got to be ready for it.
Well, you chose wisely. All of your children are beautiful.
Beautiful and smart. That's the other part too, is that, yes, with Oni's art school and, degrees and certifications. Yes, it's not just beauty, but brains as well too. But where were we? You were talking about the rockiness. We're still talking about
Okay, what are some things that help
therapy.
help our sexually?
That was
Yes,
so.
Ross.
I've also been all right. So growing up in the '90s, I was just talking about this the other day. PTSD was only reserved for Vietnam vets. You weren't talking about trauma and that with everyday people. Now we live in a time to where it's like people realize that there's other forms of trauma other than just war.
Mm.
So with that being said, I never liked the idea of a therapist. To me, therapist was always like, shrink, what do they know? They just recorded my issues and gonna go talk about it with their friends, but not really help me. Until Oni found a couples therapist. And it was a time in our relationship to where I
You
was
didn't
like,
know him before?
I knew him, but I knew him not as a couple therapist. I knew him as a NIN member.
Okay.
So, I think I might have known of what he did, but it wasn't until we were going through it and I was like, I felt like we just weren't communicating. We weren't communicating clearly, which boiled over into our sex life. They were nice to where, we felt like we were just trying to make up. It was that make up sex. It was just kind of like,
Makeup sex or spending time arguing instead of connecting.
yeah, it was those nights as well too, to where we're like, why are we'd be 3 hours into it, like, why are we still arguing? The children are asleep. We got time alone and we want to spend it arguing instead of
It was
making
for a
love.
long time. It was to the wee hours of the morning. We'd be tired just arguing.
Red eyes, teary eyes, trying not to get loud, wake the children, the whole shebang. I know there's a lot of you out there in the same boat, so I'm talking to you. But when I agreed to the therapist, the couples therapist, because I felt like we needed a third party intervention because we were at a point to where what you were saying to me wasn't getting through to me. What I was saying to you wasn't really getting through. We weren't connecting. There's a lot of disconnect. So I felt like the third
And our
point,
life was in shambles. That's when our trip got derailed.
oh, this is the beginning of this is like during the pandemic.
It was towards the end.
Towards the end. So it was, we had just came down with COVID. The whole house had just come down. Our flight to Zanzibar had been canceled because we didn't have passports in place, and we had
passport. Yeah, don't make us sound irresponsible. We had passports, but they expired
before our return date.
They expired after our return date, but it was still within 6 months.
Right. So there were stipulations. We had our passports.
Check your passports.
Yeah, especially if you're traveling with children, because they expire every 5 years.
We gotta check. I was just thinking.
I just looked at them last night. We're good for this trip. We're on the get back.
This is our redemption.
So yeah, we were in a place of, I won't say turmoil. I don't want to paint the picture, but just definitely not in a happy place.
Sad.
So the couples therapist gave voice to. It gave us a chance to hear each other through an outside voice who already had experience working with couples. And Black couples. I think he even had a situation of his own to where, like he had a daughter and was going through it. So he could relate to, us on that level, but then also just the dynamics of being young, Black, wanting to seek levels of professionalism, but not wanting to, what is the word? Move outside of our cultural scope. I'll put it for, because to me, I felt like a therapist was like getting too Eurocentric. It was getting too, okay, cookie cutter. Have you tried breathing? Have you tried listening and talking to one another laying on your back? Which all might work, by the way. But I just felt too cookie cutter. So I'm glad that you did that. Do you want to speak to
our therapist? Our therapy.
Do you feel like it was needed?
Oh, it was definitely needed.
Do you feel like every couple, it's
I
inevitable?
definitely had to
You had to
bribe you to come to some sessions.
titties. No, I'm just joking. Um,
Maybe that's what we need, strip club therapy.
strip club
Oh,
therapy.
that's what I wanted to
I'm
say.
all for it.
Ross really helped us realize how great we are for each other and how compatible we really are and how on the same page we really are. Just gave us the communication tools to remember that.
And I think
reconnect to
that
that.
it was a part of that third party because when you're in it, you don't really get to look at all the positives. You're so focused on the negatives, to where it helps when somebody outside, looking in is like, but look, you guys finish each other's sentences. But look, you guys giggle
Right.
as you're talking about, your horrendous situation.
Right.
You're still laughing. Like, and we needed that reminder.
Mhm.
'Cause I do remember sitting there in the field, in the park, Lake Temesco, as we're mad at each other, talking with him, just, like still laughing and trying not to laugh. But it's like, this is why so many couples argue, because it's just you're trying to hold on to like something, whether it's your ego, your pride, or just being right, or just wanting to feel heard, or not feeling seen, like you're holding on to something that is easier to kind of just like let go and work through,
Mhm.
especially if somebody's not like beating you over the head with, but yeah, I feel like we were just lost in translation for a minute. But, it's a day to day.
I was gonna say this morning is a great example. I almost didn't come because I was mad at you. And here we are laughing.
Only get mad at me for getting mad at her. This is how, our
But what
relationship
helped me
goes.
overcome it is again that understanding of the greater picture. I'm like,
Yes.
wait, no, I do love Dre. We do have a lot of really amazing things to talk about that could be really beneficial for people to hear.
Yeah. So thank you for coming. Oh, what else? Was there something else? Let me see. There's a few things. You got to answer the questions right, girl. You're not answering the questions.
We can delete this?
Huh?
You brought up to Tame's book. I hadn't even thought about that.
Well,
I was like, what is it?
Oh, this will make a nice little segue. So separate technology.
Technology?
Are you hearing all this in the background? Yeah. All right.
Technology.
Yes. How's technology changed your art? Has it changed your art? Do you still have a preference?
An interesting topic. Now I use the
Not
iPad. I use Procreate all the time. No, it's sweet. Dre got me. The iPad is pretty much my push present. So once Jahai was born, I got an iPad. And I was like, I don't want electronics around my baby. Like, get it away. Ugh. But then I come to find out that I can create amazing things on the iPad. It's not messy. I could do it, with the baby right there. So it's a fantastic tool. I just finished doing another logo design.
No more messy rugs.
No more messy rug. I know. Too bad they didn't have them in high school. And I can do the stained glass stencils on there too.
Yeah, no, I mean it just speeds things up. I feel like
it speeds things up. I even made AI art the other day.
I was about to say, AI is here. It's no getting around it. Like the amount of, I feel like it's going too far, and I projected and kind of predicted just in its creation and just how fast it was developed in the era that we lived in, that everybody's going to jump on it once they figure out how to work it, manipulate it.
But you know what I was thinking? Like, is that so different from propaganda that we know all the time?
But it can move a lot faster.
It can move faster and it can create things that look more real. But
the OpenAI just created where it can create videos. You prompt it and it'll create whole videos of an African tour with the amount of children you want it to be in, and It can create
I
without you even
hope that
leaving your couch.
I hope that the AI movement makes people less reliant on social media and less trusting of social media. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Less like,
Well, you can fact check stuff a lot faster with it's the it's the double-edged sword, and that's where it's a tool, and I feel like a lot of other creations, the internet, people are going to try and replace God with it. It's going to, to the amount of like utilization, the amount of time, the adornment spent, just using this tool during
right,
election time is
the
going to go
worshiping.
crazy. But the good side of it, it makes beautiful art. No,
With 3 arms.
well, see, and this is where somebody asked me earlier if AI is going to replace artists, and I was like, the bad ones, and I hate to say it, like
the
not
uncreative ones.
the uncreative ones.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like art is two different lenses that we look at art in, right? Art for everyone. I feel like if you put paint or colors in your hand, you're an artist, and whatever you create is yours, and nobody can duplicate it in the way that you do it, and that is special. On the other hand, there are other people who have devoted their whole life to mastering this craft, whether it be painting, whether it be stained glass, whether it be mosaicing, whether it be, any one of these, art forms, to where that study, that, decades and decades of acknowledging the work put into just that one study, it needs to be there and it needs to be acknowledged. What were we going to say?
Is engineering an art?
Is
creating
engineering
the robot to create the mural art?
It might start off as an art, but once it becomes mass produced, it's no longer an art form. And that's where AI is, and that's where Abba Yehuda, shout out to Abba, he got on the podcast and said, you're no longer, if you're prompting AI to create beautiful art, you're not an artist, you're an engineer. So, and that's where, I feel like that thin line is now crossed, because an artist breaks these boundaries of time and space by studying, by developing through the tip of their hands, not just prompting. If I can just prompt and say, write me a paper, or, create a image of a galaxy far away with alien, that's not really, you're not an artist. If you sat there for 3 months and depicted this image out of your own imagination, or even using prompts, now you're an artist because you're wrestling. I feel like a big part of the artist, or being an artist, or claiming to be an artist, is the journey and the wrestling with honing a certain craft or a style. With AI, you got 30 seconds to a minute and you have the whole world at your fingertips. Yeah. And I also feel that for art collectors, if you truly value art and you're a collector, all the art collectors that I know, they love to brag about how expensive the artwork is, and then also would like to brag about who created the art.
What was that movie we watched about the that artist who would, what was it? It was this gang. Do you remember the white woman with the art gallery? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, and the gang where they were trying to do the embezzling
they
through.
killed somebody, but then they were trying to
clean up their money through the art gallery.
Yes.
Yes, I forget what it was called. I do remember. Was that Samuel? No, I don't.
But the point is, the movie focused on how exactly that the people who are actually consuming the art and buying the art are attached to who the artist is and their story, even more so than the actual art. I feel like that is, the art is great, but the story, like all of your favorite artists, you know their name. That's what the
mystery of the story. That's what people are drawn to. Definitely got to talk about this Balenciaga Anybody heard about this Balenciaga story that's hit social media recently? Look it up right now. Young brother from America that was, he's a fashion designer, wanted to work for Balenciaga, was basically texting or basically, putting out on social media and telling everybody to hashtag Balenciaga because he wanted to work for Balenciaga because his designs were so dope. He was following Balenciaga, saw that they stole some of his designs, got at him, called him out on social media. They responded by inviting him to the Balenciaga store. He thought he finally made it. He was telling people about to go to the big store, about to go do it big, whoop, whoop. Ended up disappearing. Balenciaga now has a life-like mannequin in their showroom that looks just like the kid. Looks just like him. Have you heard? Look this up. So the debate online is whether or not it's a mannequin, number one, or if this is just a stuffed body. But it all goes back to saying the mystery of the art is sometimes more valuable than the art itself.
Mhm.
So Mona Lisa, which I never thought she was that attractive,
She's really ugly.
is not about the beauty of the art, and you can go and look it up. It's more, some people say it's about the sacred geometry of the placement of the anatomy and, comprised with the background. Some people say the story of Mona Lisa is that it's been stolen so many times from the original owner that this is a part of the mystery along with it. When people go looking for when they want to go retrieve, the Mona Lisa has been mentioned, several times in history about how it's changed hands through, violent means. So it's the mystery, Frida Kahlo. I feel like it's the intrigue and the mystery of, Frida Kahlo and why, she's not just painting so many images of herself, but the monkeys and the opening of her body and some of her depictions. And it's the mystery of like how it connects to real life. So yeah, I got you guys. Find anything on it? Correct. Look, oh my God, they both did the silent nod. They said that's his name. So it's kind of crazy, right? Well, I don't even know if I don't know if they found, from what I found, that they didn't find the body as yet. Yeah, the mannequin with his designs, on them, which is crazy because all of it is very weird, which Balenciaga loves to be shrouded in that whole spirit cooking mystery type of energy. But yeah, I found that very fitting to talking about like just how people are drawn to the mystery of artwork.
If we're gonna
Talk about it.
be talking to me and relating it to birth work, I'm thinking a lot about how people are stealing placentas for stem cells.
Talk about it.
They're extremely valuable. They're worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and yet people are just leaving them at the hospital, and not returning them to the earth, which helps keep our children connected to the earth. That's one part of it, but then I'm also thinking about the trans movement and thinking about DNA transfer and just how women are the only ones who can give birth on this earth.
Talk about it. She's like, it's not really much to talk about. That's it. You have to be a woman to give
because we
birth.
talk about this all the time too. And, in my work life, I talk about this all the time because the county I shouldn't say that, wants us to be, very politically correct and
Yes.
with the times. But the times aren't with my morals and what I'm trying to teach my children.
Yeah.
So that's just what that story, when I connect it to things that I have in my mind and I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and man, you got me thinking about a whole lot of different things, but where do we go from here?
I know I just talked about two really big things: organ harvesting and
Yeah.
and
Because organ harvesting and just extracting melanin, which is another big conversation. Like
right. That
this is
is yeah.
when people, and this is why Oni advocates for home births, is so much gets left at the hospital, so much, of your, like literal self that is used for so much in, stem cell research and, clone, modification. So with that being said, because I'm not a scientist and I don't know a whole lot, know your own powers,
Mhm.
know the power that your own body holds. You know, I'm not telling you to do any of your own organs harvesting, but while you're living and have your organs, you know, love your body, know and nurture your body, and just value it because
It's
it's a
valuable.
it's valuable, and a lot of people are doing some crazy things with these body parts that you can't even fathom, and all you got to do is just appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to share before we
I
close
think
out?
that's such a beautiful ending. We could talk. I mean, we're gonna be talking.
We do it all the time, yeah. And we can always follow up with more, beautiful birth work and art combined with the lovely Oni Jamora. Thank you for coming out and just speaking your truth.
Yeah, we have an upcoming doula training. If anyone in Contra Costa wants to be a doula,
There you heard it. Coco
contact me.
Doulas is on the scene. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Urban Artist Talk. I'm your host, Andre Jamora, and we will see you on the next episode. Hit that like button and subscribe. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk.
Hey, beautiful art community. Thank you for watching another episode. Be sure to subscribe to Urban Artist Talk. Your subscription will help us to bring on more guests. We would love to hear your comments below. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode.